The school bully grabbed my class queen girlfriend in front of the whole class, and this time I kept my hands in my pockets. In my last life, those same hands had broken Tyler Hayes' mouth for Madison Cole, then signed away my future under a disciplinary notice before the SAT, the most important exam of my life. So, when Madison screamed my name like I was still her personal bodyguard, I smiled, turned around, and walked away. The classroom went dead quiet. Tyler Hayes still had one hand on Madison's wrist. He was tall, athletic, and permanently wearing that rich kid expression that said every hallway in Westbridge High belonged to his family, which was almost true. His father, Dean Hayes, handled student discipline, and Tyler had been living under that umbrella so long he probably thought school rules were weather. Madison stumbled back from him, face red, eyes already shining. She had the timing, the angle, and the victim tremble ready before the room even decided what it had seen. In my first life, that look had ripped the brain right out of my skull. I had charged across the classroom before anyone could stop me. Tyler laughed. I swung, he went down, and the class exploded. For maybe 10 seconds, I felt like a hero. Then the teachers came. Madison cried in the office and said she never asked me to fight. Tyler's friends said I was jealous. Mr. Morrison, our homeroom teacher, told me senior year was too important for emotional outbursts. I wrote the self-reflection. I apologized. I took the school-wide criticism. That disciplinary record followed me straight into the most important months before the SAT. I missed opportunities I should have fought for. The funniest part came after graduation. Madison Cole, the girl I had ruined myself defending, started dating Tyler Hayes. Then she married him. So yes, when I opened my eyes and found myself back in this classroom, watching the exact same scene happen again, I did not feel heroic. I felt awake. "Logan," Madison called after me. My classmates stared like I had just committed a crime by refusing to perform the expected one. Someone near the back whispered, "Is he seriously leaving?" Tyler's mouth twitched. He looked disappointed. That was the first reward of my second life. The guy had set out bait and the fish had checked the hook, yawned, and swum away. I made it halfway to the hallway before Madison caught up and grabbed my sleeve. "Logan, what is wrong with you?" Her voice shook, just loud enough for the classroom to hear. "You saw what he did to me." I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. In my last life, I would have heard pain in her voice. This time, all I heard was direction. "Stand here, get angry, hit him, take the blame." "I saw," I said. Madison's eyes widened. "Then why did you walk away?" "Because my legs work." A few people in the doorway sucked in breath. One boy made a sound that was almost a laugh, then swallowed it when Madison turned her wet eyes on him. She pulled me farther into the hall, lowering her voice. "Are you mad at me? Is that it? I know Tyler was being disgusting, but if you just leave like that, everyone will think you are scared." Under the tremble, the priority was obvious. Image. "Everyone?" I asked. Madison bit her lip. "I mean, you are my boyfriend." That word landed softer than it should have. In the old life, I had lived on crumbs from that word. A smile in the corridor. A late-night message. A casual, "You understand me better than anyone." Enough sugar to keep a fool walking into fire. I slipped my sleeve out of her fingers. "Funny," I said. "When trouble shows up, I am your boyfriend. When the teacher asks who started it, I become some random guy with anger issues." Her face stiffened. "That is not fair," she whispered. "You are right. Fairness left the room when Tyler touched you and somehow I became the one everyone was waiting to punish." Madison blinked fast, tears gathering again. "She was good. I had to give her that. If crying had an entrance exam, she would have gone straight to a top university." "I did not ask him to do that," she said. "I know." Relief flashed across her face. Then I added, "And I did not ask to be your shield." Her hand froze in midair. Behind us, Tyler leaned against the classroom door like he owned the building. "Wow," he drawled. "Cole, your boyfriend is kind of useless." The old me would have turned around. The current me looked at him once and smiled. "Tyler, if you need attention that badly, raise your hand in class. It is free." The hallway cracked. A few students laughed before fear caught up with them. Tyler's face darkened. Madison's tears stopped for half a second, which told me more than the tears ever had. Before Tyler could answer, Mr. Morrison's voice cut down the hall. "Logan Miller, Madison Cole, Tyler Hayes, office, now." The school machine had woken up. Inside the teacher's office, the air smelled like old tea, chalk dust, and adult certainty. Mr. Morrison sat behind his desk with his fingers pressed together. Madison stood to one side, eyes lowered. Tyler leaned near the window, already bored. I stood in the middle like the answer key had been filled in before I arrived. Mr. Morrison sighed. "Logan, senior year is a critical period. You have always had good grades. Why are you causing trouble now?" I almost admired the speed. We had skipped investigation and gone straight to disappointment. "Teacher," I said, "what trouble did I cause?" Mr. Morrison frowned. Do not play word games. Tyler says you provoked him. Madison says there was a misunderstanding. The whole class saw you arguing in the hallway. The whole class also saw Tyler grab Madison. Tyler clicked his tongue. I was joking. Great, I said. Then I am laughing on the inside. Mr. Morrison slapped the desk lightly, not hard enough to be scary, just hard enough to remind everyone which adult owned the room. Enough. Logan, even if Tyler's behavior was inappropriate, your attitude afterward was terrible. I nodded slowly. So Tyler grabs someone, Madison drags me into it, and my attitude is the emergency. Madison lifted her face. Logan, why are you saying it like that? I did not drag you into anything. I looked at her. The office went quiet. In my pocket, my phone felt heavier than it should have. I still had the message she sent before class, the one that said Tyler had been bothering her again, the one that asked if I could stay close because she felt scared. In the old life, I never showed it. I thought protecting her meant swallowing the proof. That was how a person trained himself into a doormat and called it love. Mr. Morrison opened a drawer and pulled out a blank school form. Here is what we are going to do. You will write a sincere self-reflection. 1,500 words. You will apologize to Tyler and Madison for escalating the situation. No, I said. Mr. Morrison stared at me. What did you say? I said no, I am not writing it. Tyler straightened by the window, suddenly interested. Madison's face changed so fast it almost made me laugh. Panic first, then anger, then that soft, pleading look she used when she wanted someone else to pay her bill. Logan, she said quickly. Do not be stubborn, just write it. This is senior year. Do you really want this to become serious? That is exactly why I am not writing it. Mr. Morrison's voice hardened. Do you understand the consequences of refusing a teacher's arrangement? I understand consequences better than anyone in this room. For 1 second, my voice came out too flat. The old exam hall flashed behind my eyes, my shaking hand, the blank space where an answer should have been, my mother's tired smile afterward, pretending my score did not break her heart. The joke died in my throat. Mr. Morrison did not notice. Adults like him rarely notice the human part. They noticed compliance. Fine, he said. Since you refuse to cooperate, I will call your parent. Madison went pale. That was interesting. Mr. Morrison picked up the office phone and found my mother's number in the contact system. As it rang, Madison took 1 step toward me. Logan, she whispered, can you stop making this worse? For who? Her mouth opened. No answer. Beautiful. My mother arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing the cardigan she used at home when she was rushing out too fast. Her face was tight with worry, and that part hurt. I could laugh at Tyler. I could laugh at Madison. I could even laugh at Mr. Morrison pretending to be fair. I could not laugh at my mother walking into school thinking her son had become the kind of boy who caused trouble over a girl. Logan, she said softly, pulling me aside. Tell me what happened. Mr. Morrison started. Mrs. Miller, the situation is already very clear. Then let my son speak, my mother said. The office went still. My mother was not loud. That was what made it work. I took out my phone, opened the chat, and handed it to her. Madison messaged me before class. She said Tyler was bothering her. She said she was scared. In my last, I stopped myself. I thought she wanted help. Then when things got ugly, she acted like I inserted myself. My mother read the message once. Then again, her fingers tightened around my phone. Madison Cole, she said, turning toward the girl by the desk. Did you send this? Madison's eyes filled again. Auntie, I was scared then. I did not mean for Logan to misunderstand. Misunderstand? My mother's voice sharpened. You ask my son for help, then let the teacher treat him like the problem. Tyler snorted. It is just a message. Nobody told him to act like her boyfriend. I glanced at him. Nobody told you to act like a handsy clown either, but here we are. Mr. Morrison snapped. Logan. My mother looked at him. Teacher, my son has proof that Madison asked him for help. Tyler admitted he touched her as a joke. Why is my son the only one being told to write a reflection? For the first time, Mr. Morrison looked uncomfortable. It lasted about 2 seconds. Mrs. Miller, he said, adjusting his glasses, Madison should not have sent a vague message, and Tyler's joking was inappropriate. I will speak to them separately. But setting aside those facts, Logan's attitude is still the biggest issue right now. Mr. Morrison had finally said the quiet part in a full sentence. It was so stupid it deserved a frame. I laughed quietly. Enough for him to hear. Mr. Morrison's face sank. What are you laughing at? Nothing, teacher. I am impressed. Impressed? Yes. Setting aside the facts, could I also be the emperor? If we are putting reality on vacation, I want a better title. My mother's eyes flicked toward me, warning me to stop before my mouth filed its own disciplinary notice. But Mr. Morrison's face turning purple did heal something small inside me. You are mocking your teacher now? He demanded. No, I am asking why the facts only become optional when they help me. The office door opened before he could answer. Dean Hayes stepped in with a folder under his arm and Tyler's same jawline on his face. If anyone ever needed proof that school politics could be hereditary, there it was. He did not look at Tyler first, he looked at me. "Logan Miller," he said. "I heard you refused to write a self-reflection and insulted your homeroom teacher." I looked from him to Tyler, then back again. "Fast news service." Dean Hayes's eyes cooled. "This attitude is exactly the problem. Your grades are good, but grades are not everything. A student who does not respect teachers cannot stay at Westbridge High and poison the learning environment." My mother stepped forward. "Dean Hayes, my son showed proof that this girl asked him for help. Your son was involved too." Dean Hayes finally glanced at Tyler with a father's quick inventory check, like he was making sure the family vase had no scratch. "Tyler will be educated at home," he said. Dean Hayes placed the folder on Mr. Morrison's desk. "Here are your options. Logan writes a sincere self-reflection, apologizes to Mr. Morrison and the students involved, and accepts a formal warning. Or he can leave Westbridge High. We cannot teach a student who refuses basic discipline." My mother went still. The same wall rose in front of me, painted with nicer words. In my first life, this was where I folded. I told myself one apology was cheaper than losing the school, one self-reflection was cheaper than worrying my parents, one lie on paper was cheaper than a fight with adults. I looked at Madison. She had tears on her face again, but her eyes were fixed on me with something sharper than fear. She wanted me cornered. She wanted me to choose the old script because the old script had worked beautifully for her. I looked at Tyler. He was safe enough to be bored. I looked at Mr. Morrison. He was waiting for my head to lower. Finally, I looked at my mother. Her anger was still there, but worry had climbed over it. She was thinking about my future, my file, the SAT, the school reputation, all the words adults used when they wanted a child to swallow something bitter and call it medicine. I gave her a small smile. "Mom," I said, "if Westbridge High needs me to pretend Tyler did nothing, Madison said nothing, and Mr. Morrison saw nothing, then I am done here." Even Tyler's bored face cracked a little. Dean Hayes stared at me as if students were not supposed to know exits existed. Mr. Morrison recovered first. "Do not speak impulsively. This is the final stretch before the SAT. Transferring now could ruin your future." I almost smiled again. In another life, staying here had already done that. "Teacher," I said, "my future survived one death. It can survive a transfer." My mother sucked in a breath. Madison's face went white. I picked up my phone from my mother's hand and slid it back into my pocket. I bowed my head slightly to my mother, not to the teachers. "Let's go home after this," I said. "Tomorrow, we ask about Brookfield High." And for the first time since I woke up in this cursed day again, the path ahead looked hard, but possible. The news that I might transfer reached homeroom 204 before I did. By the time Mr. Morrison pushed open the classroom door, half the class had already decided I was the villain of their personal tragedy. They skipped Tyler, who started the fight bait. They skipped Madison, who had invited me into the mess and then cried like she had been kidnapped by my bad attitude. Somehow, the blame landed on me. Amazing. I had been reborn for less than one school day, and already the group project was blaming the one person who refused to carry it. Mr. Morrison stood at the lectern with his face tight enough to crack. Mrs. Miller was still beside me, holding her handbag with both hands, trying to look calm for my sake. "Class," Mr. Morrison said, "because Logan Miller refuses to recognize his mistake, this matter has now become more serious." The teacher voice arrived. Soft enough to sound reasonable, sharp enough to turn 28 students into a jury. Madison lowered her head at her desk. Her eyes were red again. If crying were an elective, she would have been recommended to a national team. Someone near the window muttered, "Just apologize already." Another boy said louder, "Yeah, why drag everyone into this?" Ryan Brooks, my desk mate, leaned back so far his chair almost gave up on him. He looked at me with the horror of a man watching his answer key walk into the ocean. "Bro," Ryan whispered, "if you leave, who am I supposed to copy physics from?" That was Ryan. Class loyalty, but make it academically parasitic. I dropped my bag beside my desk and said, "This is the most touching reason anyone has ever asked me to stay." Ryan pressed one hand to his chest. "I am speaking from the heart." The class laughed in patches, which annoyed Mr. Morrison more than my refusal had. He rapped his knuckles on the lectern. "This is not funny.